straight into the king's, private chambers, the rooms where the king actually lived with his family, and a small inner circle used for all kinds of court functions, balls, masquerade, parties, gambling, which was extremely popular here at court. When His Majesty wanted to impress some very important foreign dignitary, well, the king's silver throne was set to the court and then walk back to the door afterwards. You were not allowed to turn back and again. With hundreds of courtiers, men and women, all dressed in their fine and large. It was also now Louis XIV, there's the chamber that's coming up.
Right? No, he's always that's what I'm going in over 16.
The king's doctors and personal attendants were allowed to cross over the balustrade. Of course, they didn't have to jump over it. There's a little gate here to the right and another. From 1701 to the year of his death, 1715. In other words, for the last 14 years of his rather long life, His Majesty, King Louis XIV of France, the greatest ruler this country's ever had, slept here and died here too of, again, gangrene. By gangrene, what we call in French senile gangrene. He didn't get it from a cut, from a wound. The man was diabetic. He had the gout, which was a rich man's, disease. Too much sugar, red meat, rich, spicy food. Less than 3 weeks before he died, one morning, his doctors noticed a black dot on the king's left foot, which later developed into, gangrene. The disease, the infection slowly crept to his ankle, his leg. Eat after 13 days of intense sitting in the center and rigorous. He came from Spain and brought chocolate, a good woman with her from Spain 400 years ago. Chocolate, chocolat in French, was imported into Europe by the Spanish from Mexico in the 16th century, only they didn't eat it. Back then they drank it. It was liquid chocolate with spices, vanilla, cinnamon, and black pepper. Look at the king's younger brother, Gay, and his young English wife standing in back of the flowers in her hair, who again was most certainly poisoned by some of her husband's male lovers, knights, family. They all lived here under one big roof, including the royal mistresses, the illegitimate children that the kings of France had by their official mistresses, who again were all great ladies of noble birth, who lived here. The royal family, and privileges and before that, this is the most belonged to the king's personal collection and was kept in His Majesty's chambers. The furniture was put up for sale. The auction. Something like 17,000 pieces of furniture and other precious artifacts. Everything was auctioned off, acquired by some very rich Russian art dealers and art collectors. That's why so many rooms in the palace today, including the reception rooms at the Hall of Mirrors, are still empty. Go to Buckingham Palace in London, go to Windsor Castle, go to the Hermitage in St. Petersburg, to the Met in New York too, and you will see a lot of stuff, not only from this side, but also from other French royal palaces. Some rooms in the palace, like Marie Antoinette's bedroom where we're going, are furnished today. The furniture that they have in the palace today was either bought back by the French government or was donated, was given back to Versailles by the Rockefellers, the Rothschilds, the Gettys, the Morgans, the Kennedys, the Vanderbilts, private. Speaking of the Vanderbilts, in the spring of 1969, President and Mrs. Kennedy came to Paris on a diplomatic, state visit. General de Gaulle was president of France back in 1961. Mrs. Kennedy made quite a big impression when she came here, not only because she had so much class and style, but also because she spoke excellent French. Her grandfather was French. Her maiden name was Bouvier Shepherd. He was Jacqueline Kennedy, who convinced the French authorities and the curators of the Louvre to let Mona Lisa travel to the United States. Less than 2 years later, in early 1963, before President Kennedy was killed, Mona Lisa left the Louvre for the U.S., Washington for the National Gallery, New York, the Metropolitan Museum for a couple of months, and attracted 2 million visitors at the Met in New York in less than 2 months. That's the first time Mona Lisa ever left the Louvre for a foreign country, thanks to Jacqueline Bouvier Kennedy. Well, in the spring of '61, a state dinner was held. They had a big dinner party. Joseph II of Austria, Mozart's patron, who did not lift one finger to help his sister when things in France were getting really tough for the royal family. Ladies, 19 royal babies were born in this day. Why did the queens of France always have to give birth in public? To make sure the baby was legitimate, to avoid baby switching. Should Her Majesty give birth to twin sons, they had to make sure who came out first to avoid a serious competition later between the two brothers for the third. And I'm not kidding, during the labor, the Queen's bedroom was packed, jam-packed. It had only the court physicians and midwives, of course, but the royal family, the Queen's ladies, and the general public. Total strangers who climbed on the furniture to get a good view. And then it was a zoo, it was a royal circus, where all these people were potential witnesses who could, if need be, testify that the child did come out of his mother's womb and was therefore 100% legitimate. I mean, the Queens never gave birth in this fancy bed, of course, but in a smaller bed, like a cot at the foot of the bed, behind the balustrade, behind a big tapestry screen to give a minimum of privacy. Look at the ostrich queens. And the French roast, the gallery roast, it's today one of the emblems of the French Republic. The British lion, the American eagle. October 6, 1789, the last day of the month here in Versailles, he was stopped here for a while by 2 of Marie Antoinette's guards who were both slaughtered here, and their bodies were hacked to pieces down around in this room. But that room is she let the king the other members of the royal family in another sections of the ship. They were forced to leave the palace never to return home. God, and that's why Louis XVI moved some of that.
Excuse me. 啊，行，一路行一路影緊你。
Stand right there. All right. In the sun. We do want these little figurettes.
呢度係巴黎凡爾賽宮嘅後花園。係嘛？家長，
佢行邊我哋跟住佢。
你使乜同我一齊行咧？11點半鐘之前翻返去就啱啦嘛。
咁點行出去喺呢度出去？
呢度直接出翻去就係咯。你使乜要跟人行啫？冇咩必要跟人行，跟啦跟啦。